have a rendezvous with death. We'll preserve the last best hope of man on Earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
No fear. No political correctness. No wokeism. You're listening to Underground USA.
Thanks for downloading, listening, and sharing. My name is Frank Salvato. You can find everything we do at undergroundusa.com. I mentioned this in the last America's Third Watch segment, but I wanted to discuss it more deeply. So, before I get into the main subject of the cut telecommunications cables in the Baltic Sea and why that's important to us here in the United States, I need to discuss the ongoing use of the FBI by the Biden-Harris administration to effect political retribution. If there's ever been a complete validation of the charges that the FBI and the Department of Justice have been thoroughly weaponized politically, it comes in the recent FBI raid on the home of the CEO of the polling betting platform Polymarket. FBI agents raided the Manhattan apartment of Shane Copeland, the CEO of Polymarket, early last Wednesday. The 26-year-old tech entrepreneur was roused from his bed at 6 a.m. by federal agents who demanded he turn over his cell phone and other electronic devices. The blatant political persecution comes just a week after the election betting platform accurately predicted Donald Trump's landslide victory. And here's the kicker. Copeland wasn't even given a reason why his home was being raided. While many suspect that this politically motivated retribution is connected to unfounded allegations by liberal media sources that claim Polymarket engaged in market manipulation by rigging its polls in favor of Trump, there's no proof whatsoever that this took place. A spokesperson for Copeland stated,
Polymarket is a fully transparent prediction market that helps everyday people better understand the events that matter most to them, including elections. We charge no fees, take no trading positions, and allow observers from around the world to analyze all market data as a public good.
The New York Post reported that in 2022, the online betting platform was forced to pause its trading in the U.S. and pay a $1.4 million penalty to settle charges with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission that it had failed to register with the agency. Since the finding, the platform hasn't been available to bettors in the United States. The thing that makes this raid intellectually putrid is this. Almost every mainstream polling outlet, associated with a mainstream media outlet or not, was blatantly weighted to show Kamala Harris being competitive, winning the popular vote, and emerging victorious in the Electoral College. Those polls were literally manipulated by partisan operatives, rendering them effectively push polls, purposely manufactured to arrive at a predetermined and preferred outcome. Just 1 month before the November 5th general election, several noted outlets declared a Harris win. Ipsos Harris, +2. NPR PBS Marist, Harris, +4. Forbes Harris X, Harris, +2. Yahoo News, Harris, +1. Morning Consult, Harris, +5. Reuters Ipsos, Harris, +3. CBS News, Harris, +2. USA Today, Suffolk, Harris, +1. Emerson, Harris, +1. Harvard Harris, Harris, +2. Marist, Harris, +5. I&I and TIP, Harris, +3. It should be noted here that understanding the inner workings of these polls and, in fact, all traditional polling outlets, how they weighted the polls, what weighting is, how the internal data is parsed, etc., is the stuff of a college-level 101 course. Conversely, Polymarket is calculated using pure, unmanipulated input data based on individuals' bets because it's a gambling platform. It isn't weighted like the data from the professional polling institutions. As all the aforementioned traditional polling outlets were flooding the news media with weighted declarations predicting a Harris win, Polymarket was showing real-time betting odds calculating into the percentages that read everywhere from Harris at 50% to Trump's 49%, to Trump's 67% to Harris's 33%, to the final Election Day declaration of Trump 58% to Harris 42%. So the questions must be asked, as if we don't already know the answers. Why would the FBI, at the direction of the Department of Justice, raid the home of a company's CEO who simply facilitated data based on bets placed by individuals, and not individuals in the United States, on the outcome of the 2024 presidential election? Why would there be absolutely no outrage at the blatant skewing of the polls in favor of Kamala Harris by pollsters in the United States when all indicators point to the purposeful weighting of those polls? And why would the DOJ and FBI act so definitively on rumors propagated by the usual suspects of the mainstream media? While the mainstream media complex tries to make hay over President-elect Donald Trump's proposed cabinet nominees, the FBI, at the direction of Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland, and under the propagandist cover of the thoroughly corrupt mainstream media, are continuing their weaponization of our justice system to politically persecute those who refuse to take a knee to the Obama, Biden, Harris administration's preferred narrative, to attack those who dare to tell the truth. One of the fathers of modern-day push polling and political propaganda marketing, Edward Bernays, too nice a designation for him actually, is quoted as saying,
"The conscious, intelligent manipulation of the organized opinions and habits of the masses is an important element in a democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power in our society."
This is where we are today. This is where we have been since the cancers of push polling and spin doctoring entered the American political lexicon. It started with Woodrow Wilson, continued through Bill and Hillary Clinton, and kicked into high gear with the combined Obama-Biden-Harris administration. Our elected representatives govern nothing. It is the deep state that runs everything. This is why it's so very important to keep the pressure on. We can't let the deep state inside the Beltway status quo bureaucracy, and this includes the Republicans in name only, who are seated in the U.S. Senate and U.S. House, and the establishment-loyal congressional staffers who serve them. We can't let them steal this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to decentralize and reform our federal government back to its proper station under the U.S. Constitution. To bend a quote by Ronald Reagan to my purpose here, we must embrace this last best hope to recover our republic from the clutches of tyranny, or we will sentence our nation, our people, to the first step in 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least future generations living under the yoke of despotism will be able to say we did all that we could. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cut cables in the Baltic Sea and why that's important to the United States.
You're listening to Underground USA.
Our federal government has been co-opted by the globalist sycophants of the deep state bureaucracy. At every turn, this bureaucracy expands its power over both the American people and the states in which they live. The framers knew corruptible men would one day bastardize their elected authorities and attempt to centralize government in Washington, D.C. That's why they gave us the 9th and 10th Amendments. That's why they left standing the tool of nullification. In his book, Nullification, The Case for Decentralizing the Federal Government, Frank Salvato lays out how states can claw back their constitutionally mandated powers from the overreach of the federal government, doing so in a manner that prevents a second bloody civil war. Get your copy of Nullification. The Case for Decentralizing the Federal Government. Available on Amazon.com in Kindle form and paperback.
You're listening to Underground USA.
As the mainstream media in the United States suffocates itself, superficially, on President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet nominees, an important international story goes unnoticed. It has everything to do with geopolitics and the perceived act of sabotage, and it warrants concern. The Swedish Prosecution Authority has launched an investigation into suspected sabotage related to disruptions of two crucial undersea fiber optic cables in the Baltic Sea. One cable connects Lithuania to Sweden, while the other links Finland to Germany. This investigation comes on the heels of Finland's announcement of its own police inquiry into these incidents, indicating a broader concern about the integrity of the critical infrastructure in that region. On Monday, at about 2 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, the 745-mile cable connecting Helsinki, Finland to Rostock, Germany, ceased functioning, as reported by Cinia, the Finnish state-controlled cybersecurity and telecom company responsible for the cable. Simultaneously, at around 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time on Sunday, Telia Lietuva, a subsidiary of Sweden's Telia company, reported a severed 135-mile cable between Lithuania and Gotland Island in Sweden. The Baltic Sea, bordered by 9 countries, including Russia, is a vital commercial shipping route. As such, ensuring the integrity of its underwater infrastructure is of utmost importance. In a joint statement, Finland and Germany expressed deep concern regarding the severed undersea cables, emphasizing its broader implications for European security. They stated, "We are openly concerned about the severed undersea cable, underscoring that Europe's security is threatened by Russia's war against Ukraine and hybrid warfare by malicious actors." Though no specific actors were identified, the statement highlighted the critical need to protect shared infrastructure, essential for national security and societal resilience. Heinrich Soderman, a Swedish prosecutor engaged in the investigation, announced that the cutting of the fiber optic cables is currently being treated as an act of sabotage. At an EU defense ministers' meeting in Brussels, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius addressed the situation, noting,
"No one believes that these cables were cut accidentally. We must assume, although we don't have confirmation, that this is indeed sabotage."
Recent damage to underwater infrastructure in the Baltic Sea has raised significant regional security concerns. One notable incident in 2023 involved a Chinese container ship that was implicated in dragging its anchor across telecommunications cables. The exact cause of this incident, accidental or deliberate, remains uncertain. However, the repeated occurrences of such events have sparked suspicions of potential hybrid sabotage. As a result, there are increasing calls for enhanced protective measures to safeguard Europe's underwater networks. The ongoing incidents in the region highlight a significant concern. Recently, similar actions have been scrutinized for their potentially malicious intent. Last year, incidents involving a gas pipeline and other undersea cables raised suspicions of sabotage as well. This situation echoes the 2022 Nord Stream pipeline explosions, which are under investigation by German authorities. One EU source with deep knowledge of the situation stated that other available information indicates Russia has been behaving increasingly provocatively along its borders with Norway and Finland.
Russia must be behind what looks like an attack, in which case it is a casus belli, act of war, not simply sabotage. They should stop trying to reassure the public. They sound silly. This was to be expected in a sense. As regards the Baltic states, Putin must be trying to isolate some countries from the rest of the NATO and EU spheres. These are normal tactics.
Vladimir Putin's aggressive maneuvers in the Baltic Sea, particularly in relation to NATO countries, are significant in light of his ongoing conflict with Ukraine. These actions carry important implications for the United States, especially for the incoming Trump administration. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, are members of NATO, and as such, any attack on these countries could trigger Article 5 of the NATO Treaty. This article stipulates that an attack against one member is considered an attack against all. Consequently, the United States, as a founding member of NATO, would be obligated to respond militarily. Such a scenario could potentially lead to direct conflict between the U.S. and Russia, significantly escalating tensions in the region. The potential for conflict is heightened by North Korea's deployment of military assets in the region to support the Russian war effort. The situation is further complicated by President Biden's dangerous decision to permit Ukraine's military to utilize U.S.-made long-range missiles, which President Putin interprets as a direct engagement of the U.S. in the conflict. Putin's use of hybrid warfare tactics, such as cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns, affects not only the regional landscape, but also NATO's broader security framework, with the United States playing a pivotal role. These tactics challenge NATO's resilience and heighten the likelihood that the U.S. will need to provide technological and intelligence support to counter these threats. As tensions escalate, the U.S. could find itself entangled in Russian information operations designed to instigate discord among NATO members and within the United States. These activities could significantly impact public opinion, influence elections, and alter the political landscape to the detriment of the West. Additionally, the United States has a vested interest in promoting European energy independence as it seeks to diminish Russian influence over European politics. The Baltic Sea plays a critical role in this context, serving as a key conduit for energy security through pipelines such as the Nord Stream. Any disruptions in this region not only impact European allies, but also have significant repercussions for U.S. economic interests and the overall transatlantic economic relationship. So Russia's aggressive actions are coaxing the United States to become more deeply involved in European security decisions. While this engagement is essential to maintain, it aligns more with the interests of the global elite, the U.S. military complex, and the opportunistic elements of the deep state than it does with the needs of the American people. The geopolitical challenges and the political landmines left by the Obama-Biden-Harris administrations and the Sorosian global elite present immediate hurdles for Donald Trump upon his rightful return to the Oval Office. This is one reason the mainstream media's and the uniparty political establishment's obsession with Trump's cabinet picks is inane and, in fact, vacuous. While dealing with this dangerous and complex situation is undoubtedly challenging, there is a silver lining in knowing that the intellectual inability of the Obama 2.0 neo-Marxist left, ideologues such as Susan Rice, Samantha Power, and Antony Blinken, along with other remnants of the Obama administration, that the inability of the Obama 2.0 neo-Marxist left to effect effective diplomatic and strategic solutions is soon becoming inconsequential, for they are no longer steering the ship. That said, the disruption of internet communications in Europe affects the United States a lot more than realized at face value. And it's a hell of a lot more serious than a buffering problem on Netflix.
Underground USA.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is often laced into illicit drugs and used to make fake versions of prescription pills. You can't see it, taste it, or smell it. Suppliers mix fentanyl into their products because it's potent and cheap, and the dealer might not even know. Keep yourself and others safe by knowing the real deal on fentanyl. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com.
They're funding abortions, demanding Americans comply with their woke climate agenda. They teach people that the U.S. is a system of white supremacy while stripping away your Second Amendment rights. A California Democrat? No. It's Bank of America under CEO Brian Moynihan. There's enough people pushing political agendas in America. Your bank shouldn't be one of them. Bank of America. Their lies start with their name.
If you like the podcast, head on over to undergroundusa.com and sign up for our Substack. It comes straight to you, straight to your email inbox, circumventing the censors and the fact-checkers of social media, two groups that serve absolutely no purpose whatsoever, except for keeping information away from you. And please know that the top Substacks are chosen for AI-generated search engines based on the number of likes and paid subscriber comments that shows engagement. Liking and commenting are ways to show your support for our work. And with the holidays, please remember to talk politics, current events, and religion with your family, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances. It's when we have these conversations that we realize that we have more in common than we do in difference. And that ruins the deep state's desire to balkanize us into malleable demographics. That's when they lose. That's when we win. You're listening to Underground USA. No fear, no wokeism, no political correctness. My name is Frank Salvato.